It's Plymouth Art Weekend 2016 and I'm at the Athenium Theatre in Plymouth. This is Joanna Traynor, writer and psychotherapist, sharing her writings. Sorry about the visual quality of this video, I'm disappointed with myself.
But I've been thinking about this and I think it's changed over the years, because when I was young it was women burning their bras and looking quite crazy on TV, and I was trying to think that they could be as equal as men, and I used to think, they're never going to get there. That's just crazy. Then later on, when I was older, it was a sort of seemed to be an intellectual struggle, but it wasn't really being played out in the mainstream. And now it feels a lot more mainstream, that it seems more acceptable both to men and to women, that women should have equal chance and equal choice and equal voice in being able to say and be who we want to be. So that's what it means to me. I thought I'd start by by telling a little story. And if you've heard this story before, it would be really good if you didn't say anything and say what the answer was, because it would ruin it. And I just wanted, I've never done it to a big room before. And it'd be just interesting to see what the percent, how it pans out. So the story, it's about a father and a son, and they're going off to see a football match on Saturday afternoon, and they get into Dad's car, and they're driving along, and some idiot drives in front of them. They have a really bad road accident, and the father is killed instantly. The boy is very, very badly injured. So the ambulance comes, and they take the boy to the hospital, and he's rushed into theatre. And the surgeon takes a look and about to start work, but then says, "I'm sorry, I can't operate. This child is my son." So how could that be? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
The doctor's a woman, or the doctor's gay.
The doctor's gay?
The doctor's a gay father who's adopted the child with his partner.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
There was divorce, Sally on divorce, and basically the child went to the other person who married the other person.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
Surgeon's female. Is that an option?
You're really close. The surgeon is his mother.
Yeah.
This person said yeah, he said female, but then went on to say the gay, and I thought, well, he was going further on the gay side than the female side. But the fact that the surgeon could be his mother, because she said, "I can't operate on him, he's my son," so therefore it had to be a parent. But it's quite interesting that it's not an instant, well, it's his mum, it's either one or the other, that would be the natural response. But I think that story demonstrates that I didn't get it when it was told to me, and I've told it to another friend of mine who's heard it before, and she still didn't get it the second time around, so that's crazy. but it says to me that we're conditioned. Some of our schisms are conditioned within us, and they're blind to us, and we're blind to them. And so the first story I want to read to you is a story I wrote quite a while ago, actually. And it demonstrates the same phenomenon. It's based on an experience that I had, but I fictionalised it and added another character into it. And it's called Making That Connection. "You're not scared, are you, Mr. Robertson?" Loudly she said it, so all the other passengers could hear. "Are you?" he said. "I used to be," she said. "My grandma died on a plane in Jamaica, and so my mum's passed all her fear of flying on to me. But I'm working through it. I mean, you'd never get anywhere if you didn't fly, would you?" And with that, Mr. Robertson got up and went to the toilet. "Was she in a crash?" he asked her on his return. "No, heart attack. She was on her way to England. Her first time on a plane it was." "Have you done much travelling yourself, Mr. Robertson?" No. He drank from his bottle of water. "No, I'm not much of a traveller." "Well, I heard Mr. Thompson was supposed to come instead of you. Shame about his leg, eh? I think he was quite disappointed." So that's what we're saying, is it? "Didn't you want to come then?" "I've always wanted to go to Africa. I'm glad they picked me." "It's a first for me too," he said. I hope we get some time to explore. No, I mean it's my first time on a plane. What, you? A company director and you've never been on a whizzer before? I've got a jag, that'll do for me. And besides, I don't like foreign food, or foreign talk for that matter. Where'd you go for your holidays then? Lake District, usually. Well, I'm glad you're not my dad. You've got all that money and you go slumming it up in the Lake District. We don't slum it, we've got a motorhome. What, you go camping? Not camping, no, motorhoming. No telly or toilet though, is there? Actually, yes, there is a toilet. If I had your money, I'd be off to Biarritz and snazzy places like that. Robbo rummaged around in his bag for his book. Celia flicked through the fashion pages of the magazine so quickly she didn't register the models or what they were wearing. She was distracted, thinking back to her last conversation with Debbie, whose words now cut into her as she tightened up her seatbelt. Passed off as jealousy, on recall, Celia sensed there'd been a ring of truth in what she'd said. They've only picked you because you're black. She moved a little further away from her travel companion as if to shrug him off. Everything was ruined, well not ruined, but tainted. Certainly all the fun had gone out of it. She'd accepted Robbo's invite to Africa as a reward for good behaviour. She'd been picked. It had taken some time, but now she was, without doubt, the most upbeat and positive force in the office. This was her prize for going the extra mile. Had been. She hadn't been picked because she was jolly and fun and got stuff done. There were no other black people to choose from. The engines got louder. The taxiing stopped. The stewardesses performed their plane crash routine. Celia flicked through a magazine. The thin blonde girl on water skis in the Tampax ad looked to be gritting her teeth as well. Do you go boating then in the Lake District, Mr. Robertson? No, I'm not one for the water, he said. And just at that moment, the stewardess blew on her whistle and pumped air into a life jacket. If it's dark, she said, hopefully you may need to blow your whistle so the lifeboats can find you. Robbo blinked up at her, looking gormless. Do you think they'll get a cup of tea whilst we're over there? In Africa, he said, clarifying. In Africa, he said, clarifying. So she'd been brought along for babysitting duties, to help him fit in a bit more. His bald white head was the only bald white head to be seen. The rest were in first class. It'd be worse when they got there. She now knew he'd want to spend all his spare time in the hotel by the bar where she was drinking proper beer back home. The hotel staff would bow and scrape and treat him like a king rather than the slimy fat slob he really was from not quite central Manchester. Celia had thrown scorn on her mother's reaction to the news that her daughter had been picked to accompany the boss on a business trip to Africa. No one from Celia's family had stepped foot in Africa since the 18th century. Religious, her mother had been far more into it had read far more into it than was there. Celia had felt embarrassed by her words. We'll be taking our soul back to Africa, she said. You go stand on that African soil and tell the good Lord we come home at last. Celia didn't believe in God, but the truth of her mother's sentiment now made itself known despite that. Celia was going home, and she was taking the family's soul with her, not Robbo. She would take this opportunity to be reconnected with her ancestors. Robbo was on his own, but he didn't know it yet. She would make sure to put some distance between them, real and imagined. She would make her presence felt with her eyes so her fellow Africans knew she'd come home. They would instinctively understand her predicament. Poor old Robbo. He'd never leave home again after this, she thought, not even for the Lake District. He'll be putting up a tent in his backyard next year. Are you going to keep that tie on when we get there, Mr. Robertson? If I feel the need to, he said. The plane took its position on the runway. Celia sat by the window, Robbo next to her. Though the engines roared, he didn't look up. He was reading a novel, a big airport job, hammering his way through it. The plane sped down the runway and left the ground with a sweeping feeling. Robbo carried on reading. Bye-bye, England. I wonder if we'll get time to do some shopping when we get there, whilst we're waiting for our connection. Mr. Robertson? Mr. Robertson? He stayed silent, face stuck in his book. I want to get something to keep the sun off my face. I suppose you'll be after a tan, won't you? He coughed. The plane stopped climbing. After a minute or two, he loosened his tie. The stewardesses busied themselves with lunch. I know what I'll do, said Celia. I'll get some African frocks to wear, be cooler than a suit or jeans in all that heat. Don't know if I'll get my hat to look as good as theirs, though, do you? They look ever so complicated to put on. Robbo didn't look up. Celia thought of her mother again, and this African spirit that had never before made itself known to her. Perhaps it was in Africa already, gone on before her, like luggage. She would feel more loose when she got there, she knew. She would not be tied down by the expectations of the white man in her homeland, that was certain. She'd read stories about black people reclaiming their roots and feeling, all of a sudden, complete. And she wanted that feeling for herself now. She would stick to Robbo's schedule all right, but she would not prop him up or be his comfort blanket. As soon as her feet touched the African soil, that game would be all over. On arrival at Abidjan Airport, it dawned on Celia just how black she wasn't and how very few black people she'd ever seen all in one place and all at the same time. Everyone in the building was black, except for Robbo. It cost them a lot of money to get them both through customs. They were told the connecting plane would arrive soon, but their luggage was lost and could be found more quickly if a little more money crossed hands. Excuse me. Celia found it impossible to talk to anyone with her eyes, to make any connection at all. No one was listening. Robbo paid. The luggage appeared. They'd have to carry their bags to the plane themselves, or pay someone to carry them. It was a very small plane, used only for internal flights. Celia felt unnerved, uncomfortable, worried. She would carry her own bag to the plane, she told them. She hadn't prepared herself for the colour of it all. The flowing robes dazzling red and gold in the sunshine. The men in their little caps gliding along almost priestly, as if holding secrets. The women walked with their shoulders unknockdownable. And they all seemed so happy, laughing, shouting. No one had been this happy back in Ringway Airport. She wanted to be that happy. Sat next to a sweating Robbo, there was not much chance of that. And then, just then, she caught sight of an elderly woman in white with a gold-rimmed headdress. Celia stared at her for a few awkward seconds, and the woman stared back. Then they both looked away. A couple of moments later, they stared at each other again. She'd been spotted at last. The African within her had been recognised. Then she felt Robbo's hand on her hair, smacking her. "You've got a great big wasp in your hair," he said. "Let me get rid of it," wafting his arms and making them look like a married couple. It flew away. "Do you want a drink of water or something, Celia? You're looking a bit peaky." He offered her his bottle. "No thanks, Mr. Robertson. I'm going for a walk." She felt a little dizzy, dreamy, not quite herself. What did he mean, peaky, pale? As she walked closer to the throngs of travellers, their eerie, jeery, alien tongues noised up to her, a world she just couldn't pick up on. She wanted them to smile at her, call her over. She wanted to tell them about her family, her history, how Grandma had thought England to be the mother country. She wanted Africa to open out her arms to her. The people went quiet as she neared them, and raised their voices once she'd passed them. They stared at her. The children stopped playing to watch her. She felt false in her jeans and boots and a tight white shirt with epaulettes. The flimsy gold chain around her neck felt like string. She tried to be a part of it, but the spirit of her roots adventure had gone already. There was no one here to connect to. She went back to a bench, to Robbo. The loud alien tongue started up again, as if she'd turned them on with a switch. "Is it going to be much longer, do you think, Mr. Robertson?" "Are you tired?" he asked her. "I am a bit," she said, but in truth she'd never been so wide awake in all her life. Finally they were allowed onto the plane. It was a very small plane, old and rusted. Inside, a jumble sale was in progress. There were jackets for sale, dresses, eggs, watches, radios. A jumble sale on a plane. "There you go," said Mr. Robertson. "You can shop till you drop on here." He was laughing at her. He was laughing at the Africans. "I want to buy African clothes," she said. "Well, they certainly don't, do they?" And it was true. They were squabbling over T-shirts and pleated skirts. Robbo settled down and climbed back into his novel. He used it as a shelter. Celia wanted one of her own, a decent story to cover her. The one she'd made up in her head didn't work. It was probably the same type of plane her grandmother had died in all those years ago. Ex-British Airways. A shadow image of the logo still remained through the tags that had been removed from the headrest. Celia felt her stomach jump at that very thought. Could it have even been this exact plane, she wondered? She'd been looking for a connection, but not that sort. She looked at Robbo. He turned another page in his book. The stewardess looked worried as well. Her painted eyebrows remained horizontal. Was she counting heads? Her Thunderbird hat didn't sit straight on her weave. She looked upset. "Do you think everything's all right, Mr. Robertson?" Celia pointed to the stewardess who had screwed up her face with a show of concern. "I'm sure it's all fine, Celia." He tapped her hand and she squirmed. He must have felt her recoil. He adjusted his seatbelt and turned away from her. The sound of the engines intensified. The stewardess shouted now to make herself heard. In French first, then in English. "Prepare yourselves for takeoff!"
Thanks to Joanna Traynor. Thanks to Plymouth Art Weekend and the Athenium Theatre in Plymouth. This has been a Chris Summerfield vlog production 2016. You can contact me through ccsPhoto12@hotmail.com. You can sponsor me through PayPal at christopher.summerfield@gmail.com. Thanks for watching the video. It's a lifestyle thing. Be who you want to be.